Good morning and hello everyone. Today I thought I will look back and share with you my journey of passing the MRCOG Part 2 exam. And as all of us, I went through quite a rough patch with lots of humps and bumps on the way. And the purpose of me doing this video is to be able to resonate with all of you out there to say that although this journey can be difficult, it's totally worth it, and it's something that can be achieved and completed by every single one of you out there. And it can look like a big mountain that you'll never be able to complete or you'll never be able to climb, but that's just you and your thoughts. And if you work on your thoughts and if you work with the material that I put out there almost every day on my channel, then that should really help you with achieving those little milestones that you need to collect on your way to success. Um, so I've had lots of people ask me about my journey and to talk about what motivated me to keep going, and how I achieved everything I did. And so I thought I'll make a video so all of you can benefit from this. If you do find this video useful, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Right, so my journey, it was so I did the so for us UK based doctors, we have to do the exam at a certain stage of our training. If we haven't finished it by then, we cannot move on to the next part of our training. And during COVID-19, it was the exams had been all postponed, and they were all the exam dates were all changed and the exam formats changed. That made it quite challenging for most of us to sit our exams in the timeline that we wanted to, so it kind of like threw us off. So I was then left with my last attempt and then my only attempt at the MRCOG exam, and that was quite frightening in to say the least, because I was trying to do the exam and work full time, but then because it was my first attempt and the only attempt, it meant that I literally had no prior experience of doing this exam, but had huge pressure to pass this exam, because if I didn't, then I would not move on to the next stage of training. So it put it put me under lots of pressure, to say the least. I was very focused, and I just had all my energy and all my concentration was on to passing the exam. Um, I must say there were lots of people on the way that I've met who were very senior doctors, including consultants, who had really put me down and were quite disappointing in the way that they would talk about it and say, "Oh, it's your fault that you've left it too late, and you shouldn't have done, and it's completely and totally your fault because you're in charge of your training and your progress through the postgraduate years, and you should have been more sensible and reasonable." But these people didn't know what was going on in my life and the challenges I was facing with my mental health and physical health at the time. And with COVID-19 being so widespread, we'd had a few bereavements in the family. So there was a lot going on in my life, in my personal life, but with having no background to it, people would just come and comment on how stupid you were to leave it so last minute. And every time I'd interact with a colleague like that, I would always feel quite down and quite small of myself. But something would keep me going, and something would just lift me back up. To keep attempting and to keep revising so that I pass this exam. And that one thing for me was every time someone told me I couldn't do it, I found more energy and more concentration from somewhere to try and make it happen now because I wanted to prove that person wrong. Um, because I just think that people have different timelines in life. We're all very different. We all do certain things in our lives at different times. For example, some of us have kids in their 20s, and some of us leave, the situation about having kids until quite late in life. So, some of us, do our training quite early on in life. Others have their children, get married, and then go on to and doing exams and such. So all of us are going through different journeys, and that's partly because of what we expose to, the families we live in, the people we interact with, and so many other factors of physical, mental health plays a big part in this. So what I'm trying to say is we're all at a different pace and a different timeline in life. So we are not given any privilege to then go and comment on somebody else's life. And that's very important to know. So just because you've passed the exam doesn't mean that another doctor who hasn't is any lesser or any lower in any way, form, and shape. It's just a matter of time and they'll get it through as well. And believe me or not, every single doctor I know does get through the exams. They all pass through it, whether they do it the first time, the second time, third time. Everyone gets through the exam. Um, as long as you are determined, you're hardworking, and you want to get through this exam, you're dedicated to the specialty, you will get through the exam. So you've got nothing to worry about there. So although my journey was full of lots of humps and bumps, I was focused and I wanted to prove these people wrong, because I always thought to myself that this was not in my control. The situation I'm in was not in my control. It's not something I have really had full control over, like these people made it sound. And I was never stupid enough to leave the exam so late, that then it would affect my progression. But it happened. So life happened, and it resulted in that sort of timeline for me. Um, and the one reason I'm sharing this journey with you today on this public platform is so that I can inspire you all um, to just keep your head down and keep working. There is no reason for you to give up. There is nobody in this world who can tell you that you can't do this exam. As I said, through my experience, every single one of you will pass the exam. It's just a matter of time. And the more effort you put in, the more results you will see at the end. But you have to be very smart in terms of putting your effort, and I'll talk about that in a bit more in depth. But yes, your journey might be a bit more straightforward one than mine, but all of us have gone through a journey to get this exam out of the way. And whatever yours is, do share with me if you'd like to do so in the comments section, or you can email it to me if you want sort of a personal touch, and I'll try and reply as well. But I'd like to know your journeys, and I'd like to know how many attempts that you had to do in order to pass this exam, and how many attempts you are currently on in order to get through this exam, just so that I can engage with you better and I can put more content out there that will really truly benefit you. Right, so what is my advice after going through everything that I did? Um, the most important and something that nobody can influence on is the belief that you have in yourself. So if you shake your belief, and if you start doubting yourself, then no one can help you. And that's one thing that nobody can change about you, provided you believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you putting the effort, you're making your notes, you're practicing your questions, that's all you need. That's all you need to do. Minus out, block out all the negative content that you are listening from people, or people come to you telling you how foolish you are, how stupid you are, how you'd never get through this exam, or you're not intelligent enough, or whatever they say. Just block it all out, because it really doesn't matter, and this exam is not all about that. So just block all the negativity from your life. You don't need to reply to these people. You don't need to listen to what they've got to say, even if they're your senior. Just avoid them. So one thing I started doing was right before the exam, if I knew if I was going to interact with somebody who was pessimistic, had negative views about exams, and how they would put me down and say, oh, you're not likely to pass the exam or whatever, I just didn't talk about the exam with them at all. And even if they brought up the conversation and said, oh, how's your exam preparation going, or, so forth, I just give a brief minimum reply and just get out of there. Like, I wouldn't sit and listen to all the negativity that they had to tell me, or how difficult this exam was, because that's not what's going to help me pass this exam, you see. Right now, when you're in that exam preparation mode, you just need to focus and revise. You don't need people to tell you that you're unlikely to pass the exam. Now, you have to be smart about this exam, because this exam has got a lot for you to cover, and there is no way you're going to cover everything that you need to know for this exam if you are sat buried with exams in books. So you need to practice questions, and you need to practice lots and lots and lots of questions from various different resources, because the more you practice, the more you're going to come into contact with questions and with knowledge that you don't know anything about. So for example, you might do a question on obstetric cholestasis and think, oh, what's that figure, what's that number? And then that will trigger you to then go and look up the article or the guideline. Similarly, you might do a question on endometrial cancer that you don't know much about, but then that will trigger you to go and look up that information. So this is where the questions will help you. Whereas if you just bury yourself in one topic in a book, that's just going to help you get information in that little topic only. But that's not what you need. You need lots of information from lots and lots and lots of different topics, because that's what the exam is going to be about. It's not going to be about 10 questions from that one specific topic. It's going to be lots of questions from various different topics in order for them to test your knowledge. So the more questions you practice, the more questions you expose yourself to, the more syllabus you get exposed to. The more syllabus you cover, the more likely that you will pass the exam, and that's the smart way of working for that exam. Now, take help. Now, the reason I've put this in there is because when I did this exam, I was pretty lonely. I did it all on my own, and this is not how I would recommend you all do this exam, because this can make it very difficult for you. So what you can do is just try and find a study partner, because that would really help you, because then you can focus and revise together in small little study groups. So one person could prepare a guideline, say on third degree tear, another person could prepare the guideline on shoulder dystocia, another person can prepare a guideline on PPH. So then you sat together and you talk about all the three different guidelines in an hour, and you all have learned and revised and got summary notes for those guidelines. So that helps you. So where you were going to do one guideline at a time, you've now done three. So, and also because you are engaging your different senses, you're going to talk about it, you're going to think about it, you're saying it loud to each other, you're trying to teach each other the guideline. That's going to help you retain that information as well. So this is what's going to really help you. Now, I've put on lots and lots of information material on this channel as well, that will then also, it's all to help trigger your memory, help you retain the knowledge, and also I've summarized lots of these guidelines and TOG articles for you, so that you can just go through this and just focus on learning and retaining this information. Lastly, look after your mental and physical health. So nobody's going to do this for you. Nobody is going to help you and support you through this. So it's only you who can do this. Just wake up early in the morning, do your revision, take a break. In the break, go, get yourself a walk, come back and revise again. Make sure you have a nap, in the middle of the day to break your day. Your day should not just be all about revision. You should be taking regular breaks to help with your mental and physical health. You should be looking after yourself. Go on walks, keep yourself hydrated. Those are the things that are going to help you in the long term to try and focus and concentrate to prepare for the exam. If you just put your head down and start revising without taking any breaks, this is going to make it very, very difficult for you. So pace yourself out. Do a guideline, take a break. Do another guideline, take a break, and so forth, so that you're always having something to look forward to. Do 20 questions at a time, take a break. That way you'd be able to pace yourself and then hopefully do the exam in a more positive mind and with lots of belief in yourself that you can do this. And I'm repeating myself again that if I can do this exam under all the pressure I had, all of you can certainly do the exam. I haven't known even a single person who's not passed the exam. People have passed the exam eventually, whether it's your first, second, whatever many attempts, but they have passed. So the bottom line is all of you can pass. You just have to put in the effort and keep going.